Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we're here for another poetry discussion. This poetry discussion comes to us from the mind of Charles Bukowski in The Pleasures of the Damned. The poem in question is titled Big Time Loser. It happens on pages 204 and 205, and it reads as such. I was on the train to Del Mar, and I left my seat to go to the bar car. I had a beer and came back and sat down. "Pardon me," said the lady next to me, "but you're sitting in my husband's seat." "Oh, yeah?" I said. I picked up my racing form and began studying it. The first race looked tough. Then a man was standing there. "Hey, buddy, you're in my seat." "I already told him," said the lady, but he didn't pay attention. "This is my seat," I told the man. "It's bad enough he takes my seat," said the man, looking around, "but now he's reading my racing form." I looked up at him. He was puffing his chest out. "Look at you," I said, "puffing your goddamn chest out. You're in my seat, buddy," he told me. "Look," I said, "I've been in this seat since the train left the station. Ask anybody." "No, that's not right," said the man behind me. "He was in that seat when the train left the station." "Are you sure?" "Sure, I'm sure." I got up and walked to the next train car. There was my empty seat. By the window, and there was my racing form. I went back to the other car. The man was reading his racing form. "Hey," I started to say. "Forget it," the man said. "Just leave us alone," said his wife. I walked back to my car, sat down, looked out the window, pretending to be interested in the landscape, happy that the people in my car didn't know what the people in the other car knew. So the first thing I think is interesting to point out here is if this is based on a real-life event, as it seems a lot of Bukowski's poems really were based on real-life events. There's more there than just he was in the wrong seat. And there's more there than trying to convince someone, no, I'm in the right seat. There is some other element that people really don't like about Charles Bukowski when he's in public. Maybe it's a smell, maybe it's a look, maybe it's just a general sentiment. But no one reacts that way to you, even if you're a little bit prickish in public. The other thing that I think is necessary to talk about with this poem is the fact that this is roughly a third of the way through this book. And I often say that The Pleasures of the Damned, this compilation of poetry, I often say that Charles Bukowski's poetry is best read like a novel, beginning to end. You do not necessarily have to punctuate the poems by stopping and contemplating on each of them. A lot of what is accomplished in a compilation of Bukowski poetry is a snowball effect. We understand the character, the speaker better, poem by poem. We understand the world around the speaker better, poem by poem. We understand the views of the speaker better, poem by poem. But one of the things that we also understand better, poem by poem, through Bukowski is that we're being invited into the poem to judge the speaker. We are not there to judge the world necessarily through the speaker's eyes. Part of the Bukowski charm, insofar as there is any, is that judging the speaker is almost precisely what it is that we are there to do. There is a sense and a sentiment of something close to pity that I think we are supposed to pick up for the speaker. And I think that we are supposed to pick that up in order that we compare ourselves to the speaker. Instead of, like Billy Collins wants you to, "Oh, look how brilliant I am as the speaker here. You are supposed to see things through my eyes. You were supposed to see things in a way that you've never seen them before. Aren't I so brilliant and special?" He's not British. I don't know why I do that. Maybe just because of the condescending nature with which Billy Collins writes. But you are not supposed to feel that way when reading Bukowski. You just are along for the ride. And he invites you into the poem to judge him, but he also invites you into the poem to argue with him. Here, we have three people arguing with Chinaski, with the speaker. We have three different people arguing with him, and he's wrong. Not only that, he goes back to make amends in his own poem and is waved off. Just get the fuck away. Go on. Get lost, pal. Don't worry about it, okay? We are not only invited in to judge him, we're invited in to laugh at him. We get no indication that the speaker in this poem is laughing at himself, but we get no indication from this poem that we are not supposed to laugh at the speaker. And this is part of the brilliance of Bukowski. You were invited into the poem to pass judgment, but not on the world, not on the subject, on the speaker, on the guy pointing the stick, on the guy wielding the pen. And because of that, whatever emotion it is which washes over you as you read the poem, you are able to cast the entire poem in that light. Meaning, humility here, this humility and embarrassment, you get to cast that over the whole poem. So when he says, I walked back to my car, sat down, and looked out the window, pretending to be interested in the landscape, happy that the people in my car didn't know what the people in the other car knew. The speaker doesn't tell us, but we know he's got his head down. We know he's sort of looking around, right? We know this moment. We've been here. We've done this thing. We have done something stupid in public, and the very 5 minutes from then, we're looking around, and it's like that moment that makes its way into literature very often in literature, it's often when a character's parent dies, and they wonder, how can all these people around me be having such a good time? Don't they know the world has ended? It's something akin to that feeling as he's sitting here, embarrassed, looking around, being thankful that none of the people in this car have any idea what just happened in the other car. I can't think of another poet, and I'm sure that there's one out there. I can't think of another poet that invites us into their poetry in the way that Bukowski does. I think that, and I've said this several times on the channel, there is a strain of Bukowski in Polinick. There are little hints of it. But in Polinick, you are meant to judge the characters harshly. Very rarely do we get scenes like this poem, where Polinick, did I say that right? In Polinick, you are often invited in to judge characters harshly. We very rarely get this moment, like we have in this poem with Bukowski, where the judgment is lighthearted. We get to say, what a prick Bukowski is. What a prick Bukowski is by not listening to these people and just assuming that he is correct. He's in the right seat. How do you get there in life? How do you get to that moment? How do you get to that little part of life where you realize, oh, I'm an absolute moron? With Polinick, we're invited in to judge characters harshly. With Bukowski, sometimes that's the case. But other times, like this, we are invited in for something a little more quizzical. that is all I have for this poetry discussion. Big time loser, as it was here in The Pleasures of the Damned. I have new videos on the channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are for poetry. I also have new videos on my personal channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are not for poetry over there. Not sure what Mondays are going to be for going forward, but sometimes they're for all sorts of stuff. I hope to see you both here for the next video and over on that channel as well.